Hey guys, it's Jess here with another episode of Play USA to Z, and I am continuing to just bring in people that are better equipped to discuss some of these state level developments than I am. And so here's the deal. Today we're talking Vegas. I may live in Vegas, but my guest today, Marc Meltzer, lives Vegas, I think is fair to say. Like, you embody Vegas. You're always doing Vegas-y things, telling me what I should be doing in Vegas. So everyone say a big hello to Marc Meltzer. Be sure to follow him on Twitter, by the way, at MeltzVegas, always giving us the best info on what's going on with the casinos, what's going on with sales, and if you're a coffee fan, plenty of reviews about coffee, and of course, coffee puns, because who doesn't love a coffee shop named Jack Potts, right?
The best. I was not let down. I was just not overwhelmed. And subsequent visits have left me the same way. It's fine. It's good coffee. Not amazing, but good. And that's going to be the case pretty much anywhere you go nowadays, where they're always looking for that mainstream acceptance for their coffee. So I happen to have different preferences than most people in my coffee. So I'm a little bit peculiar and particular about what I like, because I don't get the most enjoyment out of just general coffees.
Fair enough. If there's anything I specialize in here at Play USA to Z, it is peculiar. So I think that's why we're going to have a fun time talking about stuff today. You can also check out everything Meltz writes for us on both playusa.com and playnevada.com. If you want to actually read basically everything we're going to talk about today, you just had a story go up on Play USA, right?
It literally posted 5 minutes before we started this broadcast.
So when you see this video, it will be 48 hours and 5 minutes old, but still very fresh and new. Let's start with the big casino sale that dominated the headlines last week. The Palms is no longer the property of Red Rock Resorts, I just call them stations, casinos. What was that sale, and how did it go down?
So Red Rock purchased the casino a couple of years ago and renovated, actually a few years ago now. They renovated, spent $300 and change million to buy it, another nearly $700 million to renovate it. They ended up closing it last year when all the Nevada casinos closed, and they never reopened because they were making about 80% of their profits came from the other properties prior to closing. So they just kept it closed because it wasn't generating profit. Instead of reopening it, they sold it to the San Manuel tribe from California. Many people know their California casino, very popular, and this will be their first Las Vegas casino operation. They paid $650 million, which is pretty close to how much station sunk into the renovations, but not all of the money. Obviously, they lost the purchase price, so not a complete wash, but
it's essentially like a bad real estate flip. Basically, we bought this property, we built it up, and we cannot spin it over to someone else and make money on it.
Correct. And I'm looking forward. There's rumors. They obviously right now, until the deal closes, San Manuel cannot say what's happening with the project, but it looks like they're might be targeting a New Year's Eve opening or around that time frame.
Ooh, that sounds kind of fun. You know, what's funny to me, and I said this on Twitter, I was like, I bet half the people reading this Palms news today have no idea that the Palms hasn't even been open for a year and some change. It kind of fell by the wayside as a place to go and hang out. You know, when it first opened, it's, Trishelle and the Real World and the Maloofs, and it was this big, cool place to be. And that seemed to be what Stations was going for with this remodel, right? They brought in some high-end restaurants. They tried to make it artier. They had that day club how long was that even open?
It was open for the summertime. It closed toward the end of 2019. The day club, nightclub became a meeting space. And the fancy art that you're talking about, that belonged to the owners. So when it reopens, the artwork will be gone.
Oh,
So, and I would assume that most of the restaurant themes will also be gone.
yeah,
So we
because
have
those are deals with Red Rock, not deals that'll
right,
carry over.
correct.
Yeah, the Palms is a weird one. It always seems like somebody thinks they can recapture that magic. And for Stations, which is more, for those of you who don't know, this is kind of the locals casino brand. They have casinos out, away from the strip in Green Valley and Henderson and Summerlin and downtown. And their whole thing is not to be the Las Vegas Strip chic kind of property. But that seemed like what they were trying to do with it, which was a little weird.
They were trying to they were trying to essentially, at least in my opinion, they were trying to make an upgraded version of Palace Station, which also
Okay.
received a makeover around the same time. They wanted to keep it a locals casino, but also appeal to tourists, which is a very difficult thing because they're very different customers.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see how San Manuel plays that role because it's a difficult model to keep. I tend to think San Manuel is going to focus mostly on locals, but we'll see when the time comes.
Now, one property that will be mostly local focus is Durango Station. For those of you visiting, you're probably never going to come to Durango Station on your Las Vegas trip, but I care about Durango Station because I live here. What's the deal with this project?
So during the most recent earnings call, Red Rock Resorts, aka Station Casinos, sort of teased that they are going to be building a casino on one of their plots of land they own around Las Vegas, and Durango and the 215 is the one that they're looking at as being the having the most potential, and it's going to be a relatively modest casino, about a $400 million budget to build. Um, it's going to have multiple restaurants, but no buffet, as they clearly stated. I don't think it's going to be one of the larger casinos like Green Valley Ranch that you mentioned, or Red Rock Casino out in Summerlin. I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle size of those things. It'll be relatively modest. They'll focus on the gambling and a couple of quality restaurants, but it doesn't seem like it's going to have the over-the-top amazing experiences that you'll find at some of their
Yeah.
premier Las Vegas properties. But we'll get more information on the next earnings call, they said.
Yeah, it sounds like it's more like a Palace Station is a good example of what you just mentioned. So Palms is strip adjacent, we'll call it. There are foolish people who are like, I'll stay at the Palms and walk to the strip. Don't do that, especially in the summer. You could die. A similar geographic story and a similar trajectory is Hard Rock Casino, which is now Virgin Hotel. I don't get the name right ever. Please help me.
The property name is now Virgin Hotels Las Vegas with the Mohegan Sun Casino and the Betfred Sportsbook.
It's like the Brady Bunch up in there. Yeah, so there's a lot of different parties involved, but you mentioned Mohegan Sun. San Manuel moving into Las Vegas. Not long after Mohegan Sun, another tribe that has tribal casino ventures they're based in Connecticut is moving in as well. Anything to read into about the fact that tribal casinos are starting to expand into Las Vegas?
Well, they're making money, and they have money to spend. And these are not the only two that I've heard in the rumor mill over the past couple of years. I was told actually another East Coast Native American tribe would be purchasing Palms, but
we thought it was Foxwoods for a minute, right?
Yes.
Or the Mashantucket Pequot, more specifically.
Yes, that's not my territory, so I'm not quite as.
I've been to Foxwoods enough to see the wonder of it all.
Yes, you might appreciate the old commercials more than I do.
Yeah, and I've just internalized Mashantucket Pequot at this point because I've written about them so much. But yeah, it does seem, and right now, Vegas real estate's kind of, for some of these casinos, they're getting a good deal on them, right?
They're getting, I think, fair market prices nowadays. I know Station held on to Palms, for example, until they could get a fair price for the property. And what they got was what they deem a fair price, which they probably couldn't have gotten last year because the real estate market here in the past year has been blowing up, whether it's residential or its actual businesses. But like I said, as far as the tribes go, I would not be surprised if Hard Rock Seminole are joining the camp in the future. There could be another West Coast tribe coming, but I'm not entirely sure
All right.
on which name we might hear.
Gotcha. Something to keep an eye on then.
Definitely.
All right, now across the street from Palms, I'm giving you all a big geography lesson about Vegas. You're welcome. We need like one of those cartoon maps or something so I can point it out. Is the Rio. And as someone who has spent literally a calendar year of my life inside that property, thanks to all those WSOPs, there's always questions about what's going on there. It did sell, correct?
So it sold a couple of years ago by Caesars. It was sold to a company or the affiliates of a company called Dreamscape. Dreamscape now owns the casino itself. They're leasing the operations to Caesars for the time being. I believe the lease ends next year. So who knows what's going to happen with the future of casino operations there. One fun story, I went to one World Series of Poker event. It was a final table, and it was figuratively a year of my life that I wish I could get back.
Oh man!
But Rio is being redeveloped. The new owners have plans. They're bringing in Hyatt hotels to operate the hotel portion. So at least one will get a rebrand sometime soon. Another of the towers that's there will get another rebrand, but they'll all be different Hyatt brands, and that's something that we're seeing now. If you look closely, Resorts World is opening in June, and they're going to have Hilton brand hotels, 3 different brands of hotels. Hilton's also using, they're one of the hotel operators not operators, they're a hotel company that's branded as part of Virgin Hotels Las Vegas. So you could either book through Virgin, book through Hilton's Curio collection, and those are good ways for people that are aficionados of miles and points from hotels that they may visit throughout the year at home or on business or whatever. They can now use those points in Las Vegas, and pretty much every casino nowadays has a hotel partner.
Yeah, and that's a good point. If you're a points user, you think like, oh, the only way I get a free room on the Strip is if I gamble a lot, but really, you could do it with points fairly easily as well.
Absolutely. So I'm curious to see what becomes of Rio, because the place could definitely use a refresh. Just a smidge. They're budgeting just about enough to give you a smidge of a refresh. So
yeah, I mean, just like remove the show in the sky. Step one, this like sad track going around the outside like a pathetic Disney ride is always not my favorite thing to look at. For those of poker people, we know this year there's going to be a fall WSOP, and that will be at Rio. Sure. 2022 is when we are less sure what will happen, and that's a whole other realm of speculation that we could do a half an hour on alone. Is it the new Caesars meeting space? Is it Bally's? Is it Planet Hollywood? We'll save it for 2022 when you come back next time. I can't go into it now. It'll just take too long. Caesars, though, also, the Rio's no longer theirs, even though they're still like lend leasing it back. There were rumors they were going to offload another one. What was the deal with that? Was it Bally's that they were talking about?
So in the rumor mill for the past couple of years, I feel like I've written about this 20 times for Play Nevada.
We've done this story.
I believe the last rumor was they were going to offload either Bally's or Planet Hollywood or both. But that sale was initially scheduled for this year. It's now being scheduled for next year. Now, one interesting thing, we're not sure if one or both will eventually be sold, but at least one will be sold. Could be Bally's, which is a weird situation in Vegas. It'll take us hours to break this up as well, because Bally's Corp, not Bally's Casino, purchased Tropicana.
Formerly Twin River.
Right.
Mad Libs of
right. So Bally's or Caesars owns the name Bally's Las Vegas. They could sell that if they wanted to, the naming rights, and that could go to Bally's eventually, but there's no talk on that. One of the rumored spots that were up rumor to be purchased from Caesars was up on Hollywood, and that rumor goes back to Hard Rock, the Seminole tribe that we were talking about before. So it's entirely possible that could happen. We could also have there's a rumor of a rebrand happening at Bally's that would become the Horseshoe, still owned by Bally's. I honestly, it's head spinning the amount of stuff.
I can't right now. It's too much.
Yeah, it's really enough to make a head spin. But one interesting thing, during last week's Caesars earnings call, Tom Reeg, CEO, mentioned no casino will be sold. He reiterated that he's reading rumors on the line, so to speak, and that is definitely tied into Bally's, which has been said that will be sold this year. Now, the thing that's interesting about casino deals is that it takes time to close. So if they waited until the second half of the year, they could technically sell a property this year, but the deal won't go through till 2022, and he will not be lying. So honestly, if you want to speculate, go right on ahead. I'd rather not. I'd rather just stick to what's 100% and just sort of talk about the rumors, because it's way more fun to discuss them.
I know Las Vegas locally is one of those Twitter accounts that it's like 50-50 that they have good info most of the time, but it's always fun to wonder. I did love those days of speculating if the Rio would become a minor league ballpark or a train station.
Well, yeah, and
there's neither panned out.
A major league stadium. Rio was going to be imploded at one time, and they were going to build a Major League Baseball stadium. And the Oakland A's are in the rumor mill again of wanting to move out of Oakland unless they're given a stadium. And Las Vegas is pretty awesome in giving away free stadiums to teams from Oakland. So who knows?
Interesting. Okay, we will go back to the sports teams in a second. But while we're talking about all this renaming and nonsense, yeah, there are buying and selling of existing casinos, but we have, new casinos and new projects. Resorts World, you've been telling me a lot about. What's the latest there?
Resorts World opens in June, I believe June 24th. I probably should look that up. But it'll open. They're going to have 40 eateries, some sit-down restaurants, some quick-serve restaurants. They're going to have a restaurant that sells a Peking duck taco that I cannot wait for. They're looking at big-name residencies that they haven't announced yet, but Celine Dion looks like she'll be there. Carrie Underwood's going to be there. Katy Perry's going to be there. On the EDM side, we have Tiesto's relocating from Hakkasan at MGM Grand to Resorts World. That's been confirmed. Also, Zed is relocating from Wynn Nightlife across the street to Resorts World. That's also confirmed. The theater shows just have not been confirmed. The thing that's the most interesting,
I was like, you're burying the lead, and I know what you're about to say now. That should have come first.
The thing that is most interesting to me is that the sportsbook will be a non-traditional sportsbook. It's going to be a saloon / sportsbook, and there's been talks about outside operators running this sportsbook. It looks like that will not be the case. It looks like Resorts World will operate it themselves with lines from a company that's already providing odds to a casino operator with multiple properties in Las Vegas, none of which that are on the Strip, that also may have owned that land where Resorts World is being built about 10 years ago. So you could do the math and figure that out.
That's a trivia question. But if you tweet the answer into Play USA, I'll do something. Theme a show around you.
There was a back when Resorts World was first developed. Oh no! There were rumors that they were going to build a panda exhibit inside of the casino, sort of like the MGM Lions, but that fell through the wayside. The actual original plans were amazing, but they got scaled back.
Lots of things got shelved along the way on that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's been so long and the project has seen different scales. It's still going to cost $4 billion to build. So it's not going to be a small project, but the initial plan would have probably cost about $8 million or $8 billion to build instead of what it's going to cost now.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is where he comes in then.
That guy, yeah.
Lots of money. If the saloon does not have like the swinging doors I push open and like, you know, the balcony where the girls are looking down and everything, then I'm going to be disappointed in this. If it's like a modern saloon, I'm going to be like, no, I want a saloon that like Doyle Brunson is hanging out at, and I need a hat.
It's going to be a hipster saloon with like a food truck and not ping pong tables. That's Denver. Picnic tables.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Sorry, hipsters. I'm just over your. I'm over your stuff.
It's going to be a great use of space because when the games are off, you know, West Coast the games are done about 8 or 9 o'clock here. So yeah. What do you do with the space during NFR? I'm sure you're familiar with this. The Mirage closes their sports book and has country bands playing, and I believe that's what's going to happen throughout the year over at Resorts World. I believe Uncle Kracker is playing the opening inside of the saloon / sportsbook. So
does Uncle Kracker know to be getting this job in 2021? That I still haven't figured out either. All right, we do a whole show on Uncle Kracker too. Got to move on. Will Uncle Kracker ever play the MSG Sphere? Perhaps not, though. That's the best I can do on a transition on that. Thing, I try to explain it to people. I was like, imagine an arena and Wonder Woman's invisible ship had a baby. And that's kind of what the MSG Sphere is, right?
I'm not too up on my Wonder Woman outside of Linda Carter.
It's supposed to be invisible, but it's not fully invisible. Isn't the idea that it's going to reflect the city and not really look like it's there?
I think that was originally the plan. Who knows what's going to happen if and when it ever opens? It's going to be it's being built as an audiophiles fantasy. It's going to have amazing audio, so you'll have large performers that absolutely need amazing sound in order to perform. I believe that this happened over at the Forum in LA, where they just rebuilt everything to be acoustically perfect. Now, whether or not it looks like the property is going to be about $2 billion when all is said and done to build. For comparison, I believe the football stadium cost $3 billion to build. So I don't know how that's going to operate. It's going to be very tight margins, and you know, ticket prices are going to have to be through the roof if they ever even want to come close to making their money back in 20, 30 years. I'm not good at math. Don't hold me to that number, but it's going to be. It's a weird thing in a city that has so many venues for artists to perform.
It's going to be competitive at a point, right?
You'd think, but that's only going to drive up the ticket prices because the venue operators are going to have to bid higher prices to get talent, and that price always gets turned over to the ticket buyer. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, but we're looking at that opening maybe in 2023 at this point. So let's not get too concerned over that.
I mean, they're building it like it exists, which is usually a nice step in Vegas. A lot of times these things get scrapped before they even begin to exist. Of course, we have a certain amount of properties on the Strip that just have a fake wrap on them to make them look like a real building because it just never came to fruition. And that means the Drew, right? Isn't the Drew the latest one that isn't going anywhere?
So the Drew was sold again. It was originally built to be the Fontainebleau, which is a brand that people should know from Miami. It was sold multiple times. It was now sold to another developer who partnered with Fontainebleau again, amazingly enough. I have no idea what's going on there, though. They've been very quiet about what the plans are as far as construction goes. So
that's what I love about Vegas is like, it was the Fontainebleau, then it was going to be the Drew, now it's the Fontainebleau again. It was the Sahara, then it became the SLS, and now it's going to be the Sahara again. It's just cyclical, same old things keep coming up. I can't wait till we bring back like the Stardust.
Well, that's gonna be where Resort World is. So who knows? And if Nevada ever gets online gambling outside of just poker, maybe we could have a Stardust Redux.
Well, they have Stardust Online Casino in PA now, and I was like, what a dumb brand to launch. Who in Pennsylvania is like, ooh, Stardust? But, they have online casinos, which I guess we should address. We've had fun going over all the land-based rumors, but online casino, we actually originally planned to do this video because of online casinos. There was going to be a meeting. They were going to talk about the possibility of implementing online casinos in Nevada to go along with online poker. And that meeting got postponed not long after it was announced. So we will probably do something around that if and when it happens. But for now, it still seems like this is just something that isn't a priority for casinos in Vegas.
Well, I feel like it's going to be a priority for some, but not all. And that's sort of the sports betting thing. And that there's two parts to this workshop that were going to be discussed. Gambling, more online gambling than just poker. Right now, Nevada already has World Series of Poker, WSOP.com. Previously, there were a couple of other poker rooms online. But now they're looking at, now that there's companies like Wynn just put an IPO out to have a full interactive division. Caesars has William Hill, as well as that whole stack of online gaming that they already have around the country, except for Nevada. So I think there's going to be a battle on that front where there are going to be companies that want to do that. The other part of this discussion was going to be get a little clamped there talking about this, because someday,
I'm just so excited for online casino.
Someday Nevada will have mobile sports betting registration where you could sign up for a sportsbook without walking into a casino. But for the time being, you still have to go into a casino physically, set up your account, and if you want to fund your account via online, you already have to have an account set up. So it has to start in a casino. One of the topics of discussion was going to be so that Nevada could have the same great registration rules that you'll find in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, elsewhere. So we'll see what happens on that front. I'm hoping, as somebody that would not want to drive 30 minutes away to set up an account at a certain casino or casinos, I'd rather just be able to fire it up on my phone and just sign up without any transaction fees or whatever.
People might ask too, like, why don't we have this? Who wouldn't want it? And the people who wouldn't want it are kind of twofold. Stations or Red Rock Resorts Casino, because those of us who have apps, a good chunk of us are locals. It's because we're at home, we're not at the casino and can just hop in line and get a bet. The other one is interesting because it's William Hill, because William Hill has a ton of different little Nevada local sportsbook deals. But now that William Hill is Caesars, I don't know where Caesars falls on this. I think they're so behind the 8 ball on sports nationally that, maybe they are happy to continue to have this IPR advantage and want to keep a hold of it until they're better positioned. You mentioned they have all of these products. The problem is it's not a unified tech stack the way that BetMGM is, the way that, FanDuel and PokerStars and FanDuel Casino are. And so they're still trying to get that together right now. And now they're taking the William Hill product and making it work with it. So I think they're still probably like, take your time, we're in no hurry. And so if you have Caesars and Stations pushing back, maybe that's part of the reason why it doesn't happen as fast.
That is definitely true. And Caesars says that they plan on having the tech stacks all as one, or have a single individual tech stack by the end of the year. Or not by the end of the year, by the time football season gets here. So
okay, so that's fast. It's quick. A lot of moving pieces. But yeah, online casino, I did a panel on it with Sigma a couple weeks ago. And my point was, it's not that Nevada doesn't want it. It's that, we are very used to being the gambling capital of the United States. But when it comes to online gambling, we are an also ran. The population of the state is not very large. We've seen with WSOP, that's a seasonal kind of business. When people are in town for the series, they get an influx. it pays the bills the rest of the year. We're compacting with New Jersey. We've got more states coming. It doesn't make a ton of money. And, sports betting apps, we're the only state where it's not the majority is online. We are a asset on top of the big retail business. I think that people just will get it. It's just they're more interested in getting into Ohio, getting into Illinois, getting into Florida, and we'll get to Nevada when we have time. Just not a priority.
That's true. And also I believe Boyd and Station, they have properties all over the state or all over Las Vegas. And their customers the majority are living within 3 miles of the property.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's a stress to drive from Fort Lee, New Jersey, all the way to the Meadowlands or all the way to Atlantic City, to sign up for an account. It's only a 5-minute drive for the majority of people. And that's where Station Casinos looks to have different properties sort of dotted throughout the city so that they can get people to drive in, whether it's to play a few slots, whatever the case may be. So that's why they want people to come into their properties for signing up. So I get the idea. Unfortunately, that doesn't really mesh with today's consumer.
Yeah.
And I can fund my Starbucks app like I did this morning and get a delicious cup of cold brew right in the drive-through. It's ready when I hit send on my app. I fund my app. I can go buy my coffee without actually going into the store if I don't want to.
Yeah. And it's, we put up with it because it's the only option, but it's certainly not ideal. My last point on online casino too, that I think part of the reason they'd like it, but it's just going to be an augmentation. I don't think anybody as a casino operator wants someone to opt to take out their phone and play quarter a hand blackjack versus be on the property, eating at restaurants, betting at the blackjack table. It's not like mobile sports betting where I place the bet and then my attention is back on what I'm doing. That I think, some of that is just, unless you're talking about locals, there's not a huge base of people that I think come to Las Vegas to play micro stakes blackjack on their phone.
Right, but people here, wouldn't mind that, but it did, again, like you said, it's a different business model and it's not the same as every other state in the country. So it's understandable that different properties want to have different rules. And, it's going to be interesting to see how the online develops because, again, like I said, you have the big operators on the Vegas Strip versus the local operators. And I think some of the local operators would not mind having remote registration here. So
we'll see. In the meantime, casinos are just busy because I feel like Vegas is kind of back in its groove now. So just wrapping up, people are coming back to Vegas. What's it going to look like? How many restrictions are in place? What's going on the casino floor?
So the casino floors are currently at 80% capacity unless 80% of the employees are vaccinated, in which case the casinos can then have 100% capacity. And with that, they're also removing the plexiglass that was dividing up the tables so you can play blackjack with a full deck, so to speak. And so right now, the first casinos Wynn Encore are plexiglass-less at 100%. They're also the only poker room in Nevada right now without plexiglass. Cosmopolitan is also at 100%, and the Strat was recently approved to go 100%. And it'll be interesting to see how this rolls out. But you still have to wear a mask when you're indoors. Yeah. So if that's a hindrance to you enjoying your casino time, that's something to consider. But there are outdoor gaming spaces where you're probably still going to have to wear your mask. But
I've seen some pool rules too. Like if you can prove you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. Here's what I think that they're saying: if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask at like your pool chair. I don't think they're going to come around and be like, "Show me your vaccination card, please."
Yeah, there's also signs up already outside where you can go to the pool without wearing a face covering. At different pools on the Strip, those started to pop up over the weekend last week. And inside casinos, you're starting to see lounges are a little bit more open, so you could go sit at a bar and not have to put their mask up and down, up and down, up and down every time you want to sit, because it was not a fun way to experience a casino bar. when you have to flip open your mask, flip it down, flip it up. But the city is packed. It's been crowded for a month. Casinos are understaffed because the people are returning in numbers that nobody expected, and they're returning quickly. So even as the beginning of last month, we're already starting to see the backload. I was at the Cosmopolitan for a monthly stay that I happen to be doing there. As I'm getting free offers now, knock on table.
I hope those keep rolling in.
My gambling budget is not enough to warrant monthly free trips there. But I was waiting for breakfast one morning at Egg Slut, and there was a line of maybe 75 people there. The coffee shop across the hall had a line of about 50 people. It was just insane. And this is before they open, and after they open, there's still lines of people because they're just not ready for it. And there's people walking everywhere on the strip, and inside casinos, there's enough people that have learned the trick of holding a water bottle so that they don't have to wear a face covering, because you don't have to wear a face covering while you're drinking. So
pro tip right there,
if
bring a water bottle. And yeah, going to Vegas, just budget a lot of extra time to get places, to get through lines. Because we were still under emergency rules, surge fares on ride shares for Uber, Lyft were suspended, which means a lot fewer drivers. I don't know, are they coming back? Do we know anything about surge charges yet?
A result over the weekend. A friend of mine was visiting and spent 40 minutes waiting in line for an Uber. So I know other people that are just skipping their Uber, even if they have one. If it says 40 minutes, they'll just take a taxi. But rental cars are short right now because they were not expecting so many people to return. Taxis right now are where the business is. If you're looking to not get a regular taxi, you could always reserve a town car or something like that. Get a private car service where they hold up your name. When you're just getting off the airplane, maybe they'll help you with your bags. But it's an interesting time right now. It's just a little overcrowded. Everyone's hustling and working hard, but I don't like what's happening over there because your face looks a little sinister. But yeah, it's a fun time to be out there, but just be patient. And
we don't make it sound fun. We just made it sound like it's a day at the DMV.
It's sort of like that, but you know what? You still have the same Vegas fun that you did more than ever before, or more than the past year.
It's a big improvement from where we're at. All right, this is me reserving you for a future appearance on here to talk more, because we've gone on quite a bit and covered a lot of things, and I know you've got coffee to taste, casinos to stay at for free, living the life. So check out him at Play Nevada, Play USA, on Twitter at Meltz Vegas. I am at Jess Welman, and we will see you next time on Play USA to Z.